Imagine four people surrounding you. Four sets of eyes, four sets of fists, four minds locked on one outcome. Every instinct in your body screams that this is a fight you cannot win, and you are right. You cannot win it with your hands. But here is the secret that ancient generals, hostage negotiators, and street-smart survivors have known for centuries. The body is not the battlefield. The mind is. And whoever controls the mind in those first 10 seconds controls everything that happens next. This is not a story about violence. It is a story about power, and how the most dangerous people in history never needed to throw a single punch to win. They understood something that most of us never learn in school. Conflict is not won by strength, it is won by perception. The moment four people decide to corner one person, they are not actually united. They are four separate minds, each one secretly afraid, each one waiting for someone else to make the first move. And fear, when it is shared among a group, behaves in a very strange and exploitable way. Psychologists call this diffusion of responsibility. It is the same phenomenon that explains why a crowd of people will watch someone get hurt and do nothing, each person assuming someone else will step in. In a group of attackers, the same principle works in reverse. No one wants to be the one who throws the first punch, because the first person to act becomes the most exposed, the most identifiable, the one who will be blamed first if things go wrong. So even in a group of four, there is hesitation hiding beneath the aggression. And hesitation is a door. If you know how to find that door, you do not need strength to walk through it. You only need timing. Consider the story of a small shop owner in an unnamed border town, surrounded one night by four armed robbers who had cornered him expecting an easy victim. Instead of freezing or pleading, he did something that confused them. He looked directly at the one standing slightly behind the others, the quietest one, and said calmly, "You don't want to be here. I can see it in your eyes." The other three hesitated, glancing at their companion, suddenly unsure of their own unity. In less than a minute, the group that had walked in as one fractured into four uncertain individuals. He did not fight anyone. He simply read the psychology of the group and pulled the one thread that unraveled it. This is the foundation of what is often called dark psychology, not because it is evil, but because it operates in the shadows of human behavior that most people never notice. It works on attention, identity, and fear, three things every human being is silently obsessed with. When you are outnumbered, your goal is never to overpower every opponent. Your goal is to become the single most unpredictable variable in the room. Predictability is what makes a group dangerous, because predictability allows them to coordinate. The instant you become unreadable, their coordination collapses, because four minds cannot synchronize around a target they cannot interpret. Here is something fascinating that neuroscience has confirmed. The human brain is wired to fear uncertainty more than it fears danger itself. This is called ambiguity aversion. A group of attackers feels powerful when the outcome feels certain, when the victim behaves exactly as expected, scared, cornered, predictable. But the moment the so-called victim does something strange, stays unnervingly calm, asks an unexpected question, or speaks with quiet confidence instead of panic, the brain of every attacker is forced to recalculate. And recalculating takes time. Time is the one resource you desperately need when you are outnumbered, and uncertainty is the only tool that can buy it for you. Eye contact plays a bigger role here than most people realize. Whoever makes deliberate, unbroken eye contact in a tense situation is unconsciously perceived as the person with the most control, regardless of the actual physical odds. This is rooted deep in our evolutionary past, when prolonged eye contact between predators determined who would back down first. By choosing exactly who to look at, and more importantly, who not to look at, you begin silently assigning roles in a drama the group thought they were directing. Ignore the loudest one entirely.
Attackers who try hardest to look dominant are often the ones most desperate to prove something, and desperation is fragile. Speak instead to the quiet one, the hesitant one, because that is where the crack already exists. There is also something called the leader-follower split, a pattern studied extensively in group violence and crowd behavior. In almost every group of 4 or more, there are rarely 4 equally committed aggressors. There is usually one decision-maker, 1 or 2 followers acting mostly out of social pressure, and often one person who's there out of obligation, fear, or simple bad luck. If you can correctly identify the decision-maker and either neutralize their authority through words or redirect the group's attention towards someone else's hesitation, the entire structure of the threat begins to dissolve. You are not negotiating with 4 people, you are dismantling one fragile hierarchy. History offers chilling proof of this. During World War II, several documented accounts describe lone prisoners who managed to talk their way past multiple armed guards, not through pleading, but through calm, strategic conversation that subtly challenged the guards' own assumptions about their own authority. One particular account described a captured officer who, instead of begging, calmly asked their captors what they would do if their own commanding officer discovered they had acted without orders. The guards, suddenly uncertain about their own standing within their group, hesitated long enough for the situation to change entirely. He did not fight any 4 armed men. He planted one seed of doubt, and doubt did the rest. This brings us to one of the most powerful psychological tools available in any high-pressure confrontation, the strategic use of calm body language. Most people believe that fear is something you feel, but scientifically, fear is something your body performs. Clenched fists, shallow breathing, darting eyes, a raised voice, these are signals, and human brains are exceptionally good at reading them, even unconsciously. If you control your breathing, lower your voice instead of raising it, and move with slow, deliberate motion instead of frantic energy, you send a signal that contradicts everything your situation is supposed to mean. This contradiction creates cognitive dissonance in your opponents, a mental discomfort that makes people pause, reassess, and second-guess their plan. Now ask yourself this: why do hostage negotiators rarely raise their voice, even in the most extreme situations? Why do experienced bouncers at violent bars often speak slower, not faster, when tension rises? Because volume signals panic, and panic signals weakness, while a slow, steady voice signals control, and control is contagious. When one person in a room appears to be in control, others unconsciously start looking to that person for cues, even if logically they should not. This is called social referencing, and it explains why a single calm voice in chaos can shift the emotional temperature of an entire group within seconds. There is also a darker, more uncomfortable truth hidden inside group violence, something psychologists call moral disengagement. People act more aggressively in groups because responsibility feels shared, which makes individual guilt feel smaller. But this mechanism can be reversed. If you make even one person in that group suddenly feel personally responsible by using their name, referencing something personal, or directly acknowledging them as an individual rather than a faceless group, you force their brain out of group mode and into self-awareness. A person thinking about their own individual conscience is far less dangerous than a person hiding inside the anonymity of a crowd. Think about how often this principle appears outside of physical danger. In boardrooms, in courtrooms, in political debates, the person who seems most outnumbered often wins not by overpowering the opposition, but by exploiting hesitation, fracturing unity, and controlling perception. The skill of surviving 4 against 1 is, at its core, the same skill used by underdog negotiators, undercover investigators, and even small businesses competing against giants. It's the art of making your opponent doubt their own advantage. So the next time you imagine being surrounded, outnumbered, cornered by 4 against 1, remember that the real battlefield was never physical strength. It was always the space between people's thoughts, the half-second of doubt, the fragile thread of group unity waiting to be pulled. Power is not always loud, and it is rarely the strongest hand that wins. Sometimes the only weapon you ever need is the unsettling, magnetic calm of someone who refuses to play the role fear has written for them. And once you understand that truth, you will never look at conflict or yourself the same way again.